Hi friends! So it is Monday. It is the first day of the Reading Rush Readathon and I wanted to vlog, so that's what I'm doing. I have started reading. Actually, I didn't read. I listened to. I started listening to the Alice Network, which I have an audiobook just like while getting ready and puttering around the house this morning. I am liking it more than I thought I would. Like so far, our main character is Charlie or Charlotte. She's 19, she's an American, but her French cousin went missing during the war. And so right now she's in London. Dead ends in all of their leads have like led her to this person in London, and that's where she is right now. There are some more interesting characters. I thought we'd kind of be stuck with stereotypes. I feel like that kind of happens in World War II historical fiction, so I'm glad to see that like right now I'm feeling like we're going in a different direction, so that's good. So I'm gonna listen to a bit more while I get some lunch.
Can take you to someone who might know something about that cousin of yours, but I'm not doing it. We go back 30 years, you and I, for a lot more than just a few quid. But where's that going? Why did your interest...
The book just did something that really bugs me. It's a pet peeve of mine when it comes to historical fictions. When the author uses as a crutch or in some way extracts a modern ideology and retrospectively applies it outside of historical context to characters because it makes them more likable and relatable to modern readers. Right now, the main character, Charlotte, is having a flashback and she's 9 and her cousin is 11 and her cousin is having this feminist rant. We're just valued for being pretty, our brothers get to do more things than us, our parents pay more attention to our brothers, maybe I just want to not get married and run off and shoot a lion. Sure, okay. Feminism existed in the 1930s, but this is a little bit unbelievable. This 11-year-old who is rejecting and really rebelling against her parents and her society's gender expectations really came up with this amount of original thought. It would be fine if the author were subtly maybe had these girls noticing like the differences in the way they're treated opposed to their brothers, and why is it this way? It feels very much like the author is using this modern idea to make this character seem progressive and appeal to modern readers. It feels jarring and like pulls it out of context. Like now I don't feel like I'm reading a story that's taking place in the 1930s. I feel like I'm reading a book written in 2019 about the 1930s. And that is what I'm reading, but it's like acknowledging the lens that the author is looking through back on this historical time period. It feels disconnecting rather than actually doing the research to make the story itself just stick to its own context. I know that I'm really picky about historical fiction novels. It's like 9 o'clock. I have not gotten as much reading as I wanted to done today. Oh, the lighting is so much more flattering during daylight hours, isn't it? I think I'm almost 3 hours into the audiobook, the Alice Network, and I am liking it except for the complaints that I've already shared. I think it's kind of getting worse in that regard. As this day has gone on, the more I've realized that this week is actually going to be kind of a crazy week. I am actually moving like a week from tomorrow, so I'm going to be listening to another hour or so of my book while I am not packing, but like getting rid of stuff, like cleaning through my room, you know? I did do this today. Doesn't that look nice? It was a productive day, but as far as like reading goes, I didn't get as much done, so can organizing my stack of books to be more attractive count as progress on this readathon?
On little tables in hotels up in court. She'd ordered coffee in her perfect French. Now she couldn't look up. And I almost I know what the odds are, I shot back. Even if it's only a sliver of hope. I'd been alone since I parted from Rose before the war, really. Alone in the middle of a bustling family.
Ooh, hey guys. So it's... Oh, that was weird. Quick reading update. I'm like 6 hours into the Alice Network, and to be honest, I'm starting to feel kind of ambivalent about it. I'm gonna give it another minute. I'm not gonna like talk about it right now. Just see maybe how a few other little things play out and then give you an update on how I'm feeling about the book. I have picked up Goose Girl. I'm like 70 pages into that, which is not as far as I wanted to get today. It's actually been a pretty busy day with like work, and there were a few other things I need to make some arrangements for, but that's okay. I am enjoying Goose Girl. It's very nostalgic. The story is definitely coming back to me, and I am reading it pretty quickly because it's familiar to me already, so I'm hoping to like get through that pretty quickly, or like make some major progress on that. It's like almost 7, and I really wanted to just hunker down and read this evening, but I had a friend, I'm not complaining about this because it's actually like a dream come true, but I had a friend ask me to let her take a photo of me. She's an artist. She wants me to model for a photo for a painting that she's doing, and I'm super excited. So sorry, readathon, that's what I'm doing this evening. I was doing a rendition after Ophelia by Waterhouse, and fun fact, as an art historian, like working in museums and going to art history conferences, I actually get a very specific art history related compliment of being told that I look like a pre-Raphaelite. I used to have like waist-length red hair, and I feel like you have one of 3 vibes when you have really long red hair. You look like a pre-Raphaelite painting, a mermaid, or a polygamist, especially if I have braids. If I like do a braid. Anyway, so pre-Raphaelite painting is that's a good one for me. Hey guys, it's Thursday, and last time I talked to you was Tuesday, and I did read yesterday, but I didn't like update you. I didn't film anything. I was listening to the Alice Network. I got about 50% of the way through, and I DNF'd it. So, one book down on my TBR, but just to update you on why. I got like halfway through, and really the reason I stopped is just because I was bored. Like, I'd only gotten that far because it was an audiobook. You would expect, you know, it being sort of this girl trying to find her cousin right after World War II, that there would be a lot of plot, but I found the plot to be really boring, and that the characters were insufficient to fall back on. You end up with 2 storylines. The main character, Charlie, is pregnant and in Europe on her way to Switzerland to get an abortion with her mom, but she runs away instead to try and find her cousin who went missing during World War II. And in the process of that, she meets up with an older woman named Eve, and then you get flashbacks to Eve's time in World War I working in the resistance in France. And, you know, that sounds like there's plenty of room for good plot there, but I was finding it really boring. Charlie, I felt like her entire character arc so far and projecting into the future was just going to be this girl who went from being basically helpless and completely acted upon to being this person that actually makes decisions for herself and does something with her life. Like, that's her story arc. I find that super boring. There wasn't enough emotional reason justifying her starting point as a character in the story. I didn't think. It just felt like really convenient, and I don't like stories like that, especially with like female characters. It honestly feels like it's trying to be empowering, but it doesn't feel empowering. It feels more insulting. She's incompetent when it's convenient for the plot, and she is competent when it's convenient for the plot. There's points where she just like lays down and lets everyone else make the decisions, and there are other points where she like stands up and makes the decision, and it feels really arbitrary to me. Yeah, she just doesn't feel like a real character. Anyway, enough about that. I'm bored of talking about that book. So what I have been working on is Goose Girl. I'm about halfway through this right now. Yep. And I'm really enjoying it. It's very nostalgic to be working on this book again. I read it when I was younger. It's about a princess, and she's betrothed to the prince in a neighboring town, and she's like making her way over there, but there's a mutiny on the way. I hope I'm not giving too much away. I don't think I'm giving too much away. She finds herself having to disguise her identity in this new land. I'll just leave it there, you know, as a Goose Girl, obviously, right? So I also decided that I needed another audiobook. I decided to pick up The Hobbit, and I'm actually only about 3 hours from the end of that. I've gotten pretty far into it, and then I'll probably pick up Uprooted. So we'll see. I'm actually getting a lot more reading done than I thought I would. I'm counting the Alice Network even though I'm DNFing it, so that's bumping my my book count up. Anyway, I have to head to my nephew's birthday party and pack up a bunch of stuff in my car before I go so I can pack it away in the closet at my parents' house like a true millennial.
Happy birthday to you. Woo!
I'm not yet one of the fallen heroes, but I suppose there's still time. That, however, was a little delayed. So in the meantime, of course, no longer any question of dividing the hoard in such shares as have been planned as much as I can manage, said he. At last the time. Farewell, Dwalin, and farewell, Dory, Nori, Oi, Oi.
Okay, it's Friday, and I just finished The Hobbit. I liked it fine. Like, it was okay. I've had a hard time tapping into fantasy as an adult. Like, I enjoyed it as a teenager, but I'm really just feeling like I want to tap into fantasy again, and which is part of the reason I'm reading Goose Girl and the reason I picked up The Hobbit. The Hobbit was fine. I thought it'd be a good entry point, but I don't know, like finishing the book, even as an audiobook, I'd say 50% of my motivation came from the fact, you know, it's just so generally accepted as a good book that I wanted to like give it a chance all the way through to the end. I mean, I don't have any complaints, I didn't emotionally connect to it very much, that's all. Anyway, I was thinking yesterday about my wrap-up of the Alice Network because I DNF'd it. I don't think that I articulated some of my issues with it very well. I've thought on it a bit more. I'm not going to get into it now, but I'm going to definitely expand on that more in a wrap-up in the future, because I think that there's more to it as to why I didn't like it, and it falls into a pattern of books that I don't like, and so I want to understand and like be able to put my finger on what it is I didn't like. So I'll do that more in a wrap up, so stay tuned for that. The 2 books I finished, including one I DNF'd, are both audiobooks, and I now need to find another audiobook. My physical TBR is not going along very well, but it's because this is just a really busy week. Anyway, I'm all dressed up because I'm going to like a family thing. I had a birthday yesterday and now I have another family dinner, so yeah.
And that's all I have to do. I don't plan on being a great-great-grandparent.
Hey, I finished Goose Girl this morning. The Goose Girl. Been calling it the wrong thing this whole vlog. I think that nostalgia went a long way, and I can see why I really loved it when I was a teenager, and it's good. Like, now I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's good at being what it's meant to be, but just didn't quite hit the same emotional chord on me just as an adult opposed to like a teenager. It's just a simple fairy tale retelling, some loose fantasy elements, but it's really cute. It's just a cute princess story. I liked it. If you haven't read it, I think it's worth a read. It's a good one. Right now, I'm working on cleaning. I have all kinds of packing and cleaning and things to do. So I'm gonna listen to my new audiobook that I started. It's called What If by Randall Munroe, and I'm really liking it. It's serious scientific answers to absurd hypothetical questions. Yeah, they're just all kinds of really silly questions that he answers, but with real science slash a lot of humor. Anyway, maybe I'll update you if a really funny one comes along. It's a really nice like background kind of book. I keep on saying cleaning up. By cleaning up I mean packing. Yeah. Cool.
At measure, the year when the combined power of computers finally pulled ahead of the combined computing power of humans was 1977. Question: if an asteroid was very small but supermassive, could you really live on it like the Little Prince? Wins. The exact characteristics of this shock front and thus the mechanical stress on the state depend on how an uncooked 8-ounce fillet tumbles at hypersonic speeds. As to the answer, if we stay out here much longer, we'll get frostbite. A fever would cancel that out, right? Good thing I didn't get my flu shot.
Hey, so I'm at the park. I'm just using my phone. Hopefully you can hear me. So I've been listening to the other audiobook, What If, while packing, and I only have about an hour left. The author just talks about like these random questions.
He has sort of this humorous approach to these nonsensical questions, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, so since I finished Goose Girl, I don't have a physical book I'm reading right now. I have 3 options that I've brought with me to the park. One, this really short book of selected poems by Emily Dickinson, which is a strong contender because I think I could just like read the whole thing right now. Or, and that one nor this one were on my TBR, The Tent by Margaret Atwood. It doesn't say that it's a short story, but like a short story collection, but the short stories or even some poems or something, I'm not sure exactly what's going on. Or the other option, which was on my TBR and that I do still really want to read, is Uprooted. But I'm not sure if I could get through all of this before the end of tomorrow. It's like 418 pages, maybe, if I read quite a bit tomorrow.
Hey, so it's Monday, which means that technically the readathon is over, but yesterday was just kind of crazy and there were a few things out of my control and I didn't get to read at all. On Saturday, I got till about, I had like a half hour left on my audiobook, What If, that I was reading or listening to, and I started Tent by Margaret Atwood, which is quite a small book, and so I was probably at least a third of the way through it. And I really wanted to finish all of those things and I didn't. So I'm just going to fudge the rules a little bit and continue Monday like it's still the readathon. So I did actually just finish listening to What If, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's just very interesting to hear these random answers. There's like a lot of these just like random questions, and he uses like real math and science sometimes to answer them, to give like the real answer to what it would really be like if those things happened, those really random and impossible what if questions. I thought it was a really fun book. It had a really good pace. I found it entertaining. The audiobook is narrated by Will Wheaton and I thought he did a really good job. Like, I don't really have any complaints. I think I'd give it 4 to 5 stars because I just didn't feel like an extra I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I just barely finished. I remember I said before that I was helping a friend model. Like she was doing a Waterhouse rendition of Ophelia and she wanted to take some photos of me to paint. So when I got there, she was like, "Oh, you cut your hair," and I had cut my hair like a year ago, so I was surprised that she had forgotten this. Anyway, she took some photos, but I was like, "Oh, you should paint my sister, because my sister has hair down to her waist, and I used to have hair down to my waist, very long red hair, and she's actually has a more slender figure, which is much more pre-Raphaelite and a bit more Rubenesque." So when I was there, she was like, "You should come back and I can draw you from life." So that's what I did today, and I know it doesn't sound sympathetic to like for me to be like, "Oh, it's so exhausting to sit still," but I've never done that before. It was quite exhausting. The muscles in my back are tight. So anyway, I hope you can even hear this, but I am tired and I'm going home and I have a few things to get done and then I really want to sit and read. It was a 3-hour session, which is not really that bad, but that's a long time to like sit in one place, and it kind of puts you to sleep, but then you can't quite go to sleep because you have to be focused on like not moving. And she actually she was going for a Mary Magdalene, so I was doing this kind of like hand thing like this, which is really fun, and a bit of art history for you. Mary Magdalene, at least in the Catholic tradition, is like a composite. They kind of composite a few Mary figures from the New Testament, which means that they include like a reformed prostitute in like the identity of Mary Magdalene, and in like old paintings, especially in art history, red hair is oftentimes used as sort of like an indicator of a loose woman. So Mary Magdalene oftentimes has red hair. So anyway, fun fact for you there.
So I finished The Tent by Margaret Atwood. I don't even know exactly how to describe this because it's not, they're kind of like little anecdotes. Some of them seem like poems. I'm not even sure what to call them. Short stories doesn't seem like they're quite that, but they're just like these little works of fiction that are very like, some of them seem very loose and abstract, and other ones have a bit more of a narrative to them. Anyway, I really like Margaret Atwood's writing style. On that account, I was satisfied. I really liked her writing style in this. Some of the little fiction segments were not quite satisfying. Like, I was a little bit bored now and then, but some of them were really poignant and beautiful, and the rhythm of her style of writing is just like a lot of fun, and I really like that. I'd probably give this like a 3.5, maybe 4 stars. I'm happy that I read it, especially that I've read another Margaret Atwood. Okay, it is like almost 9 o'clock, and I'm gonna wrap this this vlog up now because I don't think I'm really gonna read anything else. This has been kind of fun to vlog, and this readathon has been fun. I think I read 5 books. I'm really pleased with myself. That was actually honestly a lot more than I thought I was going to get through in this readathon. Okay, well, thanks for watching this vlog, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye!